Just throw your mitts around your kittens and away we go!
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the November 5th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And a new friend of the show, Sports Ball Games. Make game day your fun day for you and your crew. Play sports ball. Playing for a hill of beans or just jelly beans, Sports Ball Games is the way to go. We'll talk more about them as we get to the break. Okay, so one of the things we do suffer from, and I've heard this for years, it's like a 21st century thing, it's a do something disease, right? It's we have to do something just for the sake of doing something, right? You think back to 9/11, right? We got NSA, CIA, FBI, you have all these security agencies. Now we need Homeland Security, right? And I don't know if we needed Homeland Security, but that's another argument. What I'm saying is that we needed to do something, right? And I'm looking at the Rams, and we wanted the Rams to do something. I wanted that other receiver. We wanted Rashid Shaheed, right? He ends up in Seattle. But we wanted the Rams to do something, but do we not gain a quiet confidence from this team with the fact that they decided, hey, you know what? We're good. We're really good with what we have, and we're going to dance. And think of how much money you could have made. I'm not a gambler, but think how much money you could have made that the Rams' biggest acquisition at the trade deadline was re-signing Jake McQuaid, who last played for the Rams in 2020. And remember that great stretch, those Bones Fossil years? Literally, it was like from 2011, 2012, 2011, all the way through 2020, when you knew you basically pretty much had Greg the Leg, you had Zerline, you had Johnny Hecker, and you had Jake McQuaid, right? And it's like special teams, you just never had to worry about it. You never thought about it. And then there was that brief dalliance with Sam Sloman. They got Matt Gay in, and it worked out. And then, of course, Matt Gay broke the bank in Indy and is now bouncing around the league. I think he's in Washington. I don't even know if he's still in Washington. But yeah, so you're real comfortable with that. And now we're happy that Jake McQuaid is coming back at the age of 37 as the long snapper. And so they brought him on board. They released Wyatt Bowles from the practice squad. I don't know if that's the end of Wyatt Bowles. He might float around and sign a futures contract next year. And because he got a lot of playing time during the preseason. And then the Rams signed a UDFA free agent kicker out of Missouri, Harrison Mevis, and he's known as the thicker kicker because he runs about 5'11", 243, and he kicked with the UFL this spring and had a really, really nice spring in the UFL. I believe he was kicking for Birmingham. I think he only missed one field goal. And so those are the moves the Rams made. We wanted Rashid Shaheed, or at least I wanted Rashid Shaheed, and we wanted them to make a move, shore up this, shore up that, and this is what they did. They brought back the old long snapper, and they brought in a rookie kicker who is at the very least, just putting some pressure on Carty. There's also talk out there that him and Carty are kicking for the job for Sunday. The bottom line is that the Rams now have pieces. If they don't like what Ward is doing at long snapper, and if they don't like Josh Carty, they got some pieces they feel like they can turn to. And it's nice to see if they are going to turn to this thicker kicker, Harrison Mevis. At least he spent, 10 weeks in the UFL kicking the ball, and he's got a leg. He had a 61-yarder on his resume in college, and plus half dozen or so kicks plus 50 yards while he was at Missouri. So that's the interesting move the Rams made. And I think we're good with it. I think we're really good with it. Reese, let's see here. Manny Correa, what's up, Pastor Joe? Not much, man. Glad you're here. Let's see. Joe, we signed that big kicker that was with the Birmingham Stallions. Yeah. And the interesting thing about that too was how do we say this? Remember how Matt Gay was a big flop in Tampa? Matt Gay was a huge flop in Tampa, and the Rams brought him in, and he became one of the most reliable kickers for this team that we had ever seen. He was very reliable and such. So you never know about this kid, what they got in him. But USA expat, I do believe in Cardi. I don't think Cardi's the problem just yet. I think we're going to find out if they had everything set, if everything was the way it should be on that special team unit, on that kicking unit, I would turn to Cardi. But you're getting those kicks blocked, man. You can't lay that on the kicker. I mean, what have we heard this? You've seen that line blown up, absolutely blown up by defenders. You've heard rumors that they're not varying their snap counts, and so they're getting a jump. You saw a guy come all the way around and alter Cardi's kick last week. So I'm not completely sold it's Cardi, because when you're getting your kicks blocked left and right, it's got to mess with you. It just has to mess with you. So I'm not out on Cardi yet, but I do like the signing of this kid, and we'll see where that goes from there. LA Rams should have signed fullback Xander Horvath. There's Willie pushing the fullback narrative again. All right, so Darius Williams will likely be back on Sunday. McVay was very positive about that. And I'll be honest, I like the Grams against Frisco on Sunday. We'll break it down more on Friday, but I feel good about this game. I feel better about this one than I did the one at SoFi. I want to see, what I really want to see more than anything else is I want to see, did Chris Shula make the adjustments? Instead of laying down flat and getting the snot beat out of me early, I wonder if they're going to come up a little more tighter in coverage. Frisco has nothing to threaten you with over the top. And if they beat you over the top, that's going to be once in a blue moon. You got a good back porch there with Lake and Curl and Kitchens. You got a nice back porch there to help you out if they do go long. But they got to come up in some press coverage and not just hand off these short 9-yard routes to these receivers and make Kendrick Bourne into a legendary 49er receiver. Now, Fog City's not expected to have Ricky Pearsall, and no one knows what's up with Brandon Ayuk. You know what the problem was? They gave him too much money, and now they're living with it. So, and everyone else gets hurt. I'm sure they're going to have Demarcus Robinson out there, but no Ricky Pearsall, and really nobody, again, to go over the top. Jake Brendel, their starting center. Bryce Huff, the guy they brought in from Philly. Actually, he was at the Jets via Philly briefly last year. They both have limited participation this week, some hamstrings. And, of course, Brock Purdy with his toe. But as a Ram fan, we know the scariest thing in Frisco has never been their defense. The scariest thing in Frisco has always been their backup quarterback. At least as a Ram fan, for me, it always has been. All right, let's keep running through this. Rams have 9 games left this season, 7 against teams with a winning record, 5 against the NFC West, only 4 more at home and 5 on the road. The road games are at Seattle, at Frisco, at Arizona, at Carolina, and at Atlanta. Some of this stuff is shaking out in the Rams' favor. It's a brutal stretch this next month. And then you just see there's a lot of – it's a weird – Cardinals are kind of hard to judge right now, kind of hard to figure with where they're going because of that performance in Dallas was great. And, of course, we know it was Dallas, but they still came out there and played in Jacoby Brissett, right? Jacoby Brissett. The efficient backup quarterback as opposed to the splash player. I'm Joe Charosian, sports writer for 21 years, and now I do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. We want to say thank you to them. and appreciate their support. Plus, you guys buying my books. I've had a few sales of late, a little more sales because you guys are. Just be sure to check them out. Every time you buy a book or check out Kistler Law, you guys help me in my day job as I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And we are on YouTube and all across social media at Burbank Faith Virtual. And check us out there. We also want to mention new friend of the show, Sports Ball Game. And if you're looking for a way to bring your crew together on game day without the gambling stress or fantasy overload, try Sports Ball Games. Free pick'em and squares, live leaderboards, and bragging rights built in. One click and you're in. No fees, no spreadsheets, no headaches. Just sports fun your whole group can enjoy. Whether you're cheering from the break room or the backyard, Sports Ball Games makes every game day a team event. Plays for fun, brag for real. Join sportsball.com and check it out. And it's a lot of fun. And I think probably next year we are going to do something from our end with them and you guys, whoever wants to participate. Just another reminder, please sure to hit like, subscribe, leave comments. It helps us. Right now, we've backed off the audio version of the podcast, Spotify, iHeart. We're just not getting any traction there. So much rather double down on what is working, which is the broadcast and restream. And so we'll go back to that eventually. But right now, this is where we're at, and we just want to kind of build on it, just to get used to doing the stuff that we're doing here. Let's see here. ESG, I'm looking forward to finding out if it was Sam Darnold or was it the Vikings for failures versus the Rams. I think it's both. I think it's both there in terms of I think Sam Darnold's limited. I really do. I when everything's right, yeah, right. I mean, that Taxkin team looked terrible. They absolutely looked terrible. And so he looked great. And let's look at some of their schedule there in Seattle. They're going against the Cardinals. They got the Titans. They got the Vikings in front of them, the Falcons. Colts with Sauce Gardner. They got a lot of good stuff, easy stuff in front of them. You know, they beat the Saints. They lost to Frisco. You can put pressure on Sam Darnold. We saw that. Rams beat Sam Darnold, twice in 2 months, was it last year? The Thursday night game and then the playoff game. Has Sam Darnold ever scared you? Never scared me. And I don't trust that Seattle offensive line. So I think that's a good spot for the Rams. I'm not too worried about that one. Willie Bowen, San Francisco Whiners are bankrupt. There you go. Ken, wish I could download a digital copy of your book since I live abroad. Ooh, you can't get a copy of that, huh? That's right, because of the Amazon thing. You can't get the ebook. Let me think about that, Ken, and I will get you taken care of. You have my email, US Expat. Check out. Tell me if you got my email, and I'll post it. In fact, I'll just do my email right now for anybody that needs it. Just be sure to send me an email, and we'll work something out. There we go. Is that professional enough for me to stop and type? There's my email. I guess I can't post messages with links. So, all right, that's what they're telling me. But let me know if you got my email. All right, cool. Let's keep pressing on here. Around the NFL and other places, Joe Alt gone for the year. Spanos curse in full effect. The Chargers are working against it, but they just can't seem to get away from it. And Kyler Murray, another local effect here because they're in the division with the Rams. Speaking of Kyler Murray, he is just been put on the IR. If that's a 4-week IR, he would be back in time to play against the Rams in week 14. But we're not sure if he is going to be back. And again, I'd much rather face Kyler Murray than Jacoby Brissett. An efficient quarterback is far more dangerous with good players. And, you know, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, this Cardinal team is solid. It's not great. It's solid, and they keep on playing. And I'm really curious. What's making me curious about the Cardinals is will their morale go up? Will their morale go up with a professional player like and mature player like Jacoby Brissett, and that makes them much more dangerous. Recapping some of the trades, well, there really weren't any trades, right? Frisco didn't make a trade. Seattle brought in Rashid Shaheed. That was a good deal for them. That was a really good deal for them. And then the Raiders sent Jacoby Myers to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 4th and a 6th. That's a nice pickup for a receiver who wasn't doing anything, going to a team that really needs a receiver. Plus, Seattle gave up also a 4th and a 5th to the Saints for Rashid Shaheed. We'll see how that plays out for them. And, of course, the big one was what the Jets did yesterday. The Jets sent Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys for a first-rounder next year and a first-rounder in 27. I'm sorry, first-rounder in 27, a second-rounder in 26, and Mozzie Smith, who was drafted out of Michigan, a Michigan guy, and he flopped out there in Dallas. They sent that to the Jets for Quinnen Williams. And then the Cowboys acquired Logan Wilson from the Bengals. Remember somebody was speculating the Rams would be interested in Logan Wilson? Preposterous. And the Cowboys got him for a 7th rounder. And, that makes sense. I mean, he's a veteran. He wasn't playing for the Bengals. I think he'll be better than anyone they have. And then, of course, the questions came up. I think it was a good trade for the Jets to move off of Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner yesterday. Sauce Gardner was sent to the Colts for 2 number 1s and Adonai Mitchell. They got that thing out of Lucas Oil, so they're happy to be done with Adonai Mitchell. But people were saying the Jets really screwed up, and because they had a top flight corner, top flight run stopper guy in the middle, and they had already paid these guys. These guys had already gotten their second contracts, and they were going nowhere with them, nowhere. So they maximized it. These were good trades by the Jets. And as somebody said, a couple of people have said, the Jets just need to be patient right now and let this play out. But those were good deals because they had already paid Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, and it wasn't working. All they were doing was eating salary cap space, and you weren't going anywhere with them. They should have found a way to trade Breece Hall. They should have found a way to trade Garrett Wilson. They should have just opened it all up and made the deals and got rid of those guys as well. And what they're doing right now is Aaron Glenn and the new GM and everybody, they're rebuilding the team in their own image. And no matter how hot it was and how great it was before in terms of some of those draft picks being really good players, you weren't going anywhere. So it's time to get the players you want, right? It's time to get the players and put together the team that you want. So that was good by the Jets. I thought it was a good move by the Cowboys. Everyone's saying, what did you trade Micah Parsons for if you're going after Quinnen Williams, who's less than Micah Parsons? Well, that's if you believe Micah Parsons is any good. I happen to think Micah Parsons is really overrated and makes way too much money. Where was Micah Parsons against the Carolina Panthers last week, right? He is an empty calorie eater. He eats when it doesn't matter, right? He eats against a struggling Cardinal team. He eats and then builds those numbers up and the KBM convinces themselves that he's a must-have player. Dallas did a really good job here because now you bring in Quinnen Williams along with Kenny Clark. Yeah, you're paying them both a lot of money, but at least for this year, you should be able to stop the run. The Texans are done. The Giants are done. Dallas has a pretty good offense. They really do. They have a pretty good offense, and if they could find a way to keep teams from scoring 30 points and get it down to maybe 21 or 22 points, they could still win some games. And I do believe this. While everyone's still in love with Philly, they kept A.J. Brown. So all that stuff that's happening in Philly, all that drama is going to continue to play out. Yeah, they made the move for Jalen Phillips, but I think Philly is vulnerable. And the Rams, outside of Chase Blackburn's special teams, proved that Philly is vulnerable. Other teams have proved Philly is vulnerable. So I don't know if it's a bad move for the Cowboys to dream. I don't know if it's a bad move for them to dream about 2025. And they still have draft picks for next year and the year after that. So I thought those were pretty good moves. Oh, I forgot about you guys. Sorry about that. Let's see. Oh, cool. Thanks, Ken. Send me an email. Let's see. Actual David Henry. Cardi is mentally done. Hopefully the thick The thicker kicker wants a job and will work out. Special teams coach gets to get fired. Yeah, here's the interesting thing. So if you make the move, right, and I really think that's an atomic level move. Not bringing back in Jake McQuaid, but if you put Cardi in the street, and it still doesn't work out, and you're still getting kicks. Again, what we're dealing with Cardi here is very little in aspect of him missing kicks. He's missed a couple, right? He's missed a few, but it's the problem of they're getting blocked, and that's the whole. I think that's the whole enchilada there. And if guys are still, if kicks are still getting blocked, then yeah, you need to look at Chase Blackburn. You really do, because this is ridiculous, right? Let's also remember, I think there was it a punt return for a touchdown against Tennessee, and there was one against Baltimore that was returned, and they were called back because of blocks in the back. But as we know, those things could be easily missed. I'm not a big Chase Blackburn guy, not a big one, and I'm guessing that Sean McVay is becoming less of one as well. Surratt, I think Cardi is not for long. Yeah. And if his head is messed up, he's got to go, right? It's the nature of the business. I'm sorry. I kind of like him again, but what was it? Who was it? Who was the kicker that back in the early 90s that, what was it? Was it Cunningham or who was it? Told Jimmy Johnson as they were heading into the playoffs that he felt like he lost his confidence. The kicker told Jimmy Johnson that he felt like he lost his confidence, and the next week Jimmy Johnson put him in the street because he said, I can't have a guy that doesn't have his confidence. So I like Cardi, but if he's mentally messed up, you get shell-shocked really bad, then I think they need to move on. I want to see this one here. Let's put this up here. The Jets are loaded with draft picks now. This is Mike Gutierrez. They essentially get to hand select their quarterback of the future. And that's interesting to think who it's going to be. My feeling about the Jets here, it's really find out if this GM can draft, right? Find out if Aaron Glenn is really on that same Dan Campbell track, right? And if it is, then I'm rooting for the Jets. I want the Jets to do good. I really do. Let's see here. Boom. USA Expat. I think eventually the Rams will look for a veteran free agent for their next quarterback to maybe be the bridge. A few years ago, I brought up his name in the last show, Davis Mills with Houston. Davis Mills, I think it was in, was it 2021 and 2022 when the Texans were really bad and they were going through all those David Culley, Lovie Smith years. Before C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans got there. And Davis Mills acquitted himself pretty good for a really lousy team. And I was kind of thinking, okay, they drafted C.J. Stroud. Maybe they can want to get rid of Davis Mills. And remember, after 2022, we really didn't know what Stafford's future was. I'd like to go after Davis Mills for a bridge guy, right? He's young still, and he's got some experience, but I don't know if they see it the same way I do. But I think the next Ram quarterback will be a bridge. I do. Depending on how they draft, what they draft, who's left in the draft, what's there in the draft. It seems like I think the Rams probably could have gotten Jackson Dart, right? But I'm glad they did it. We're happy. What we need is in one more year to finish this window. The window is 2024 through 2026. We need Stafford for one more year, and then we'll see how it plays out. Let's see here. ESG, all the Eagle moves came on the defensive side when it's their offense that's struggling. I think they're vulnerable, right? They're also vulnerable in that secondary. So yeah, I'm not all in on Philly. I'm really not. I'm not. Actual David Henry, I was looking at the Rams offense with 3 tight ends, and it reminds me of New England days with Gronk and Hernandez. You know what I really liked about that Gronk and Hernandez thing, especially with Hernandez, was the ability to move him in the backfield. Remember, he had a lot of running plays, right? They really were really creative with Aaron Hernandez. It's tragedy the way his life ended, and we could all have all kinds of opinions on that. But in the end, it was tragic because he was a heck of a football player. really versatile. You go back to New England. Remember Troy Brown, guy who played wide receiver. He played some defensive back. Julian Edelman played some defensive back. They did a great job with these versatile players, and then they got players like Kevin Falk that gave them 10 years as a utility back, and Jackie Slater's son. They just knew their business, and then Bill Belichick got older and grumpier. He was always older and grumpy, but he got older and grumpier. There we go. Let's see what we got here. All right, let's keep pumping. Let's look at the schedule going into this week. Thursday, Raiders at Broncos. That's an easy call. We're taking the Broncos at home. Hard to pick against Denver here. They're playing without Patrick Surtain, but the Raiders kind of just moved off Jacoby Myers, and their quarterback situation is a disaster. And I was completely wrong about the Raiders. I really thought they'd be competitive. Didn't think they'd be a playoff team, but nothing's gone right this year. Offensive line injuries, Colton Miller, Geno's been a big bust. You thought he would at least stabilize things, and then just other injuries. And so, yeah, just a really bad turn of events there in Las Vegas. Broncos, in terms of played well this year. They keep winning. They're a cardiac team. They're the cardiac kids of 2025. But the thing about the Broncos, though, is they've got to put together 4 quarters of football, right? Because I can see them. They're gonna make the playoffs, and I can see them getting bounced earlier because they're gonna be playing against playoff level teams, and those playoff level teams are at that point in the season are not going to collapse in the fourth quarter like these other teams have. You never should have had to rely on a field goal to beat the Texans at the end without C.J. Stroud. I like Davis Mills, but that's ridiculous. But Broncos tomorrow night easily over the Raiders. And then let's get to the rest of the games this week. I'm not picking necessarily officially yet who wins, but we'll do that. All right. Sorry. Sometimes the notifications here that I get, I've got a bunch of listeners or followers, and then they all disappear, and then they all come back. Just learning Restream, man. Falcons at the Colts in Berlin. Sauce Gardner is expected to play, but he's in concussion protocol. I imagine that concussion protocol was, I just don't want to play for the Jets anymore. I'm saying. But this is a big game to make his debut because he'll be facing Drake London, right? And I think the Colts overpaid. I wouldn't have paid that much for Sauce Gardner. I'm so glad the Rams didn't go after Sauce Gardner. But this is a big one for the Colts, a huge one for the Colts. They made really an all-in move. 2 number ones for a corner. Now he's locked up, so we'll see. And isn't anyone happy at this point to leave the Jets? And now he went from a 1-8 team or a 1-7 team to a 7-2 team. So he should be motivated. Saints at the Panthers. Nothing to say here. Bryce Young, they're 5-4 in Carolina. So you got to respect them. Asante Samuel is visiting there today to be a cornerback for them. He's still floating around. The guy's just kind of picking his spots. I read it on online today. He's visiting. Asante Samuel is visiting Carolina today, Packers tomorrow, Vikings Friday, 49ers on Monday, Bears next Tuesday, and Steelers next Wednesday. Yeah, I hope Panthers are going to beat the Saints. There we go. Nothing to say there. Bears, let's see here. Bears are hosting the Giants at home. Bears can't mess around if they want to be taken seriously, and I think the Giants are just about out of energy. Jaguars at Texans, C.J. Stroud out, Davis Mills in, gets the start. I'm going to go with the Jaguars in this one. I think they're going to straighten this thing out and pick off some wins. Bills at Dolphins. Bills should have made another deal, and Fins should have shed more. They should have done more than get rid of Jalen Phillips. They should have got rid of everybody except maybe Devon Achane. And the Bills needed more. They just lost Michael Hoyt. They need another pass rusher. They need more. Ravens at the Vikings. Baltimore is playing better. I like JJ, but I don't like his team. I don't like the Vikings. I've been told they're great, and I don't believe they're great. We're going to find out. This is critical for the Ravens season. Everyone's talking about the Ravens going on a run to catch Pittsburgh. They got to win. They got to win and beat the Skol crowd. Browns at Jets. I don't know if anyone cares. Let's see here. Dano, good to have you. Vegas can kick rocks. USA expat, Pete is washed up. It's hard for me to think that. But we'll see. Patriots at Buccaneers. I'm a fan of the Bucs. I don't want them to beat the Rams in the playoffs, but if there was a catastrophe, if there was a team I would root for in the NFC, I would root for the Bucs. But in this one, I'm rooting for the Patriots because, again, Buccaneers are an NFC team, same record as the Rams. Rams are playing them. We don't want them to have any confidence in a few weeks when they come into SoFi. And Christian Gonzalez, great corner for the Patriots. He's in concussion protocol again. The guy is always hurt, and they need him because we've seen the receivers that Tampa Bay has. Cardinals 3-5 at Seattle. I think Seattle wins this one, but I want to see again how the Cardinals respond against a division opponent, which means it won't be a blowout. And how they respond after dismantling Dallas. And again, what's the morale going to be like now that the team knows, right? Jacoby Brissett's going to be the guy pretty much for the rest of the year. And so I think that might make them play with a lot more confidence because that passing game looked so much better. Rams at Niners. I'm leaning Rams right now, but I'm not officially taking that at this point. We'll break that game down later. Lions at the Texans. Detroit should have made a deal. I don't know what they were looking at. I don't know how much it was going to cost them, but they need a complimentary edge. They really, really do. They need somebody on the other side. They need somebody on the other side with Aiden Hutchinson, and I think that's going to come back and get them in the playoffs. Sunday night, Steelers at Chargers. I like the Steelers in this game. Like for the Bolts, who's going to block this Steelers pass rush, right? A Pittsburgh loss, there will be no excuses that are acceptable. They can't lose this game to the Chargers. I don't want to hear about it from Steeler fan Rob because he always comes up with a million reasons why they lose a game. Steelers need to win this game because Ravens could be hot on their trail. And also the other thing here, I think the Steelers, they made the trade for Duggar, the safety from New England last week. But my gosh, get Aaron Rodgers some help. I can't believe they didn't go get another receiver, somebody for him to throw the ball to. If I was Aaron Rodgers, I'd be a bit put out because DK Metcalf giveth and DK Metcalf taketh away, right? Preposterous. Monday, Eagles at Packers, biggest game of the year, 5-2-1 Packers hosting the 6-2 Eagles. And tell me, is this not a game where Micah was brought in to make some noise? Biggest game of the year. Homeboy should be making some noise in this game. And again, I am not a Micah Parsons fan. I'm actually leaning Philly in Lambeau. Let's see here. Let's see. Boom. What do we got? ESG, Rams are favored by 4. I don't remember the last time the Rams were favored at Fog City. I don't know. What was that game last year? They probably weren't. They probably weren't in that tough game last year because that was literally Fog City last year. Let's see. Mike Gutierrez, thanks to Arizona's win, the Rams now have the 11th overall pick. Oh, did that work out? Did that fluctuate? Did that move Atlanta down even more? I'll take it. Hey, and we need to root, right? We need to root for the Colts on Sunday. USA expat. Niners left the fog for a landfill. Hey, no, I was actually isn't that built right near Great America? I've been there. Right? That used to be I don't know if it was a Six Flags, but there used to be a theme park there. I used to visit there when I was going up to see my dad when I was a kid. And so I know that area in Santa Clara. Was that really a landfill? All right. USA expat. What do we got here? At least we moved past the horrible surface at Candlestick. Yeah, I think the 49ers were happy about that. Notice that Joe Montana, I don't think ever had to play on the artificial turf. Didn't they get rid of it in 79? Or was it 80? They got rid of it pretty quick there. I think in 80. By 80, it was definitely gone. All right, let's keep trucking along here.
It was a stone groove, my man.
Yeah, I wanted to look at this. November 5th, 1980. Bob Brzezinski. Remember Bob Brzezinski? Bob Brzezinski was always holding out for different things, never liked his play, never liked his pay. Great player. He's the one that took Isaiah Robertson's job after being a first-round pick in 77. But he leaves the team mid-year. walks out mid-year, never plays for LA again. Ultimately, he's traded the following spring in April of 81 to the Dolphins for 3 draft picks, all second rounders. That first second rounder, Rams in 1981, took Jim Collins out of Syracuse. Rams got a Pro Bowl season out of him. They also drafted Mel Owens in that same draft in the first round. Isn't Mel Owens on The Bachelor? How did that work out for him? Is that still working out? The Rams traded that second round pick to the Redskins. The Redskins used another second round pick there. The second one they used in 1981 to draft Russ Grimm. And Russ Grimm went on to a Hall of Fame career. And then the third second round was in 1982, and the Oilers took Oliver Luck. Note about Bob Brzezinski, 17 playoff games, 3 Super Bowl appearances, played in 1 with the Rams, 2 with the Dolphins, never won one. Never won one. Bob Brzezinski, that guy could he have been better? I mean, I don't know. He just seemed like he disappeared, and he got off to a great start for the Rams. Passing away on this day in 2008 is Joe Windrowski. Does anyone know who Joe Windrowski is? He passed away at the age of 78 in 2008. Rams got him in the John Arnett deal when they sent John Arnett to the Bears. Windrowski is the last Rams starting center. He was the Rams starting center in 1964. If you've been with me for a while, I do talk quite a bit about the Rams having 3 centers for almost 30 years. Ken Einman to Rich Saul to Doug Smith. And that locked the Rams offensive line down from like 65 through 91. And the center before Ken Einman took over, I never missed a game, Ken Einman, was Joe Windrowski. I thought that was worth mentioning. There you go. All right, let's keep moving here. USA expat. I always liked Brzezinski's size. I had nothing bad to say about Brzezinski. I didn't like him walking out, so I was really happy they dealt him. They got some great draft picks for him. Kind of hit and miss on what they did with those draft picks. But it was weird that he's the guy that replaced Isaiah Robertson. And I think Robertson was having attitude adjustments after Chuck Knox left in 78. Robertson was benched, and then he was suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. And then he was moved to Buffalo in 79. All right, one other thing I wanted to add here, which is kind of cool, was in 1978, that 78 season, the Rams hosted the Bucks. And I wanted to get that in there. I stole some of this from Pro Football Reference. But the Rams hosted the Bucks. Rams were 7-2 or 8-2 going into that game. They were having a great year. Pat Hayden was at quarterback. You had all that stuff. You still had McCutcheon, Capoletti, all those guys. And the Buccaneers were finally starting to get some traction in 78 after going 0-14 in 76, 2-12 in 77. Now they were getting traction. They had drafted Doug Williams. But look at this. This is the scoring summary from that game. Rams go up 17-3. Cromwell, I think that was a fake kick. Billy Waddy, 68-yard pass from Hayden. Neil O'Donoghue keeps doing this. Frank Corral makes a field goal. And then look there in the fourth quarter. It's 20-9. Buccaneers are playing pretty good defense. Ricky Bell, USC, 1-yard run. Frank Corral kicks a field goal. And then John McKay Jr. catches a 23-yard pass. USC guy catches a 23-yard pass from Mike Ray, USC guy, playing quarterback for Doug Williams at that point. Pat Hayden's the quarterback for the Rams, and Ray and Hayden shared playing time in 79. Or I'm sorry, in 72 at USC. But here's, again, the interesting thing here. All these USC guys, and John McKay is the head coach. Now, I remember listening to this game on the radio with my brother, and this was the reason I'm making a big deal out of this is because this was prime example. As early as 78, Rams are about to win their 6th straight NFC West title in the Coliseum that day. They were cheering. The Ram fans were cheering for the Buccaneers because you had John McKay Jr., Jim Obradovich, the tight end, was a USC guy. Ricky Bell was a USC guy. Mike Ray was a USC guy. If you look at the roster there, Danny Reese played. He was a USC guy. You're looking at all this guys here. Dave Lewis, the linebacker for the Buccaneers, was a USC guy. Richard Wood was a USC guy. All these guys were there, and the Ram fans were cheering for the Buccaneers in the Coliseum. So I know people think when I say Ram fans are some of the worst there are. Ram fans are some of the worst there are. This was a 6-time division-winning championship team, caliber team, and their own fans in their own stadium was booing them. Help me. Or they were cheering for the opponent. So, yeah, really something to think about there. Rams ended up pulling that game out. Frank Corral kicked a field goal. The UCLA kicker beat that USC alumni squad that day. Just something I wanted to throw out there that happened on this day in 1978. So you should always question somebody. There should be some litmus test when somebody says they're a Rams fan. Find out if they know. Oh, cool. You were there. Paul, I was at that game. I was so mad at the fans for cheering for Tampa. So I'm not just making this up. I heard it on the radio. Because Al Wisk was calling the game, and we're going, what the heck? I mean, I'm a USC guy in those days, but what was that all about, right? What was that all about? Unbelievable. USA expat. Loved Willie Miller. Yeah, Willie Miller has a great story. I'll have to go over that someday. This guy had a great, great personal story. Yeah, I was a Willie Miller fan myself. All right. Let's see. Paul, Willie, let's see. Rams almost lost that game. Ricky Bell played well. Yeah, Richard Wood, Leroy Selman, Dewey Selman. The Rams put 9 sacks on the Buccaneers that day, but they got to Pat Hayden 4 times. So this was a real intense game. Buccaneers were on the way up. The next year, the teams played each other in the NFC Conference Championship game. So they were ascending. When somebody talks about John McKay failing at Tampa, Hugh Culverhouse, the owner, failed John McKay. But I don't think John McKay failed at Tampa Bay. Paul, it was your birthday on that day. Oh, man. Happy birthday today. Happy birthday. You're 29? How old are you now? 29? There you go. Congratulations. All right. Let's keep pressing this. Let's go back to present day. And Cert posted something. 49ers defensive end, rookie defensive end, their first-round pick, Michael Williams suffered a season-ending torn ACL during the Week 9 victory over the Giants, a loss that has further strained the team's defensive depth. At some point, I mean, I understand some of these things are fluke, but, man, don't you have to, cut the head of a live chicken off at the 50-yard line and break the curse? Don't you have to bring in Father Karras and Father Marin and have them do an exorcism? This is 3 years in a row for Frisco. And I think they said McCaffrey is leading the league in touches. And sooner or later, that's going to wear out. This is, again, another reason I think sooner or later the emotion. Now, I think there'll be a physical division game, opponent game on Sunday. And I think for the first half, 49ers will knock heads with the Rams. But at a certain point, you can only go so far on emotion, and they're going to be drawn back down. Yeah, absolutely. So I am leaning the Rams in this one. USA expat. Willie Miller comes to the Rams after winning the Silver Star in Nam. Yes, he did. That's right. Absolutely. Willie Miller, Vietnam veteran, played at Colorado State after the military. Yeah, what a great life, huh? What a great man, And I don't know if we had the ability to appreciate a guy like that in those days. Let's see what I got here. I'm just looking at some other stuff here. We'd love to extend it another 5 minutes here, guys. Tomorrow is November 6th. It's my daughter's birthday, but tomorrow's November 6th. And on November 6th, 1990, the Rams waived Kurt Warner. Not the Kurt Warner, K. They waived Kurt Warner, C., former Penn State All-American. Kurt Warner, drafted by the Seahawks, 3rd overall, right after Dickerson out of Penn State in 83. He had an amazing rookie year, but because of Dickerson, no one ever knew. Warner rushed for 1,000 yards 4 times in Seattle, rushed for 985 yards in another, even after blowing out his knee in week 1, really bad knee injury in 1984. Chuck Knox, right? Chuck Knox worked this dude over and over and over again. And And then after the Rams let Greg Bell leave after the 89 season, after 2 amazing seasons, actually, they tried to replace him with the 29-year-old Kurt Warner. Warner lasted 7 weeks, started 2 games, scored a touchdown, only averaged 2.8 yards per carry behind a pretty good Rams offensive line. But Kurt Warner is a shame that he's kind of lost to history. He was marvelous at Penn State. He was just fantastic at Penn State. And he was marvelous in Seattle in some lean years up there where they were just, a 9-win team kind of. They're always, a little bit of a playoff appearance here, a quick bounce. They moved from Jim Zorn to Dave Krieg, and they had Largent. It just wasn't enough to get them over the top in the AFC. But Kurt Warner had a really good career. It's a shame that he is forgotten. All right. Any other thoughts? There weren't that many moves during the trade deadline. Colts were aggressive, Cowboys were aggressive, Jets were aggressive, but teams that thought they might have a shot. I thought it was smart, really, of the 49ers not making a big move. I think it was Jermaine Johnson. There was some interest with him from the Jets, but the Jets wanted a number 1 or something else for him. And he's one guy I wouldn't have moved off of with the Jets. But 49ers didn't make a move. Seattle made a smart move. Lions didn't make a move, and they really should have. Packers made their move early when they went after Micah Parsons, and I don't think it's going to pay off. Cowboys still think they're alive. Looking at where the Giants and Taxkins are, I think they should think like that because their defense is going to, if it could just get a touchdown better, right? Give up a touchdown and a field goal less, the offense has the ability to register some points. In the AFC, I don't know what the Bolts are going to do outside of, they need an exorcism to deal with the Spanos family because I think that's what's dragging them down. I do not know why the Steelers didn't make a move. Chiefs are standing pat. Bills should have made a move. And Patriots, it makes sense. I wish they had another weapon there for Drake May, but maybe that's coming because they've exceeded, I think, expectations so far this year. And so they're just keeping their powder dry for 2026. And this is all gravy to them, right? It's all gravy going forward. Dolphins should have got rid of more players. Tennessee should have got rid of more players. But, that's just where those teams are at right now. All right. Do we have anything else in here? I think we're cool. I think we got through it. Did you guys want to see that Rams roster one more time? Look at that. Pat Hayden, John Capoletti. Look what that game against the Buccaneers did on this day in 78. McCutcheon only had 30 yards rushing, right? Look at that. And receiving, Willie Miller, 6 catches, 105 yards. There you go. He had one of his better days as a pro. Waddy, 1 catch, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Ron Jesse, 1 catch. Remember, the Rams had traded Harold Jackson in the summer of 78. George Allen was not a Harold Jackson fan. Look at a couple names here on the Buccaneers roster. I thought that was kind of interesting to see. Jimmy Giles was at the beginning of his career. Frank Gratt, former Redskin receiver, was at the end of his career. Let's see, also starters there. But Dave Pear, Leroy Selman, Dewey Selman, Richard Wood, Mike Washington, Jarris White, who ended up with the Redskins, won a Super Bowl there. This was a really good Buccaneers defense. Don't let anyone sell you short on John McKay. He did a really, really good job with this team. Look at that Rams offensive line. John Williams, Doug France, Tom Mack, Dennis Hara, and Rick Saul. I mean, you'd love that line. Awesome. All right, USA Expat, thank you so much. We're coming up to the 50-minute mark. Guys, thanks for joining. It was fun hanging out. If you got my email there, USA Expat, send me an email, and I'll see if I can help you out with that ebook, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, God bless. Take care. And I think we're good. All right. Okay. God bless, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Go Rams. We will see you on Friday.